Listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you isn't just about walking away from someone. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about stepping out of the emotional prison you built for someone who doesn't value your presence. We live in a world where people think your attention is free. They take your kindness, your love, your loyalty, and they think it's unlimited. But the moment you pull back, the moment you stop feeding that energy, the moment you give them your absence, they feel what your presence was truly worth. Because let's be honest, your presence has power. Your time, your energy, your attention, these are not cheap gifts. They are your currency of life. And when you keep giving them to someone who drains you, who disrespects you, who takes and never gives, you are bankrupting yourself emotionally. You don't teach people through your words. You teach them through your silence. You don't demand respect by shouting. You demand it by removing access. You don't need to beg anyone to see your worth. You just stop showing up for people who never earned the right to have you in the first place. Sometimes walking away is not weakness. It's self-respect. It's not revenge. It's redirection. Because when you walk away, you create space for peace, space for growth, space for people who actually deserve you. You see, people often confuse attention with love. They think that being constantly available means you care. No, being constantly available means you've forgotten how valuable your energy is. When you're always there, they stop seeing you. Familiarity kills appreciation. So give them your absence, not to punish, but to protect your peace, to remind them that your energy is a privilege, not a guarantee, to remind yourself that your time is sacred. When you remove yourself, the world adjusts. People start noticing. The silence becomes louder than your words ever were. And suddenly, the same people who overlooked you start to feel the void. But that's not your goal. Your goal is not to make them miss you. Your goal is to find you, because when you detach from what drains you, you rise. You rediscover your strength. You find your clarity. You realize that the love you kept trying to give someone else, you were supposed to give to yourself. There is power in stillness, power in walking away, power in saying, I'm done explaining, I'm done proving, I'm done trying. When you give someone your absence, you don't lose. They do. They lose your energy, your laughter, your wisdom, your light, and you gain your freedom. So the next time someone plays with your peace, disrespect your time, or forgets your worth, don't argue, don't chase, don't beg. Give them your absence and watch your presence become priceless. Your absence teaches louder than your words, because silence holds a power that no speech, no explanation, no argument ever can. When you choose to pull back, when you stop justifying yourself, when you stop trying to prove your value to someone who's not ready to see it, something profound happens. People start to feel the weight of your presence through the void you leave behind. They begin to realize that your energy was never ordinary. It was the light in the room, the spark in the connection, the pulse that kept everything alive. But sometimes people can't see that while you're there. They get used to your presence. They take it for granted, not out of malice, but out of comfort. They forget that your time is not owed, that your effort is not infinite, that your presence is not permanent. And that's where the lesson of absence comes in, because absence wakes people up. It forces reflection. It demands attention in a way that words never could. You can talk all you want about boundaries, about respect, about loyalty, but words fade. People hear what they want to hear. But when you're gone, when your energy is no longer there to fill the silence, they start to feel the contrast. That's when realization hits. Your absence becomes the mirror that reflects their behavior back to them. It shows them what they lost, what they neglected, what they thought would always be there. And it's not about making them suffer. It's about truth. The truth that not everyone deserves unlimited access to you. The truth that presence should be earned, not assumed. The truth that love without appreciation loses its meaning. You see, energy is not something you throw around freely. Every text you send, every conversation you hold, every time you show up for someone, it's a transfer of energy. And when that energy is met with apathy, ignorance, or disrespect, it's like pouring water into a broken vessel. You can keep pouring, but it will never be full. The moment you stop pouring, the silence becomes deafening. The absence speaks volumes. It's not an act of pride. It's an act of awareness. You're saying, if my presence doesn't elevate this space, my absence will clarify it. That's the power of stepping back. Your absence teaches because it exposes reality. It removes the illusion that you were the problem, that you were too much, too emotional, too demanding. No, what your absence reveals is how much you were holding everything together. The moment you step away, the energy shifts. The dynamic collapses. What was once balanced by your presence suddenly feels hollow. That's when people begin to understand that you were not just another person. You were the foundation of that connection. Your presence was the heartbeat, and your absence is the echo. There's a reason silence unsettles people, because when you stop responding, they're left to face themselves. Your silence forces them to hear their own thoughts, their own mistakes, their own emptiness. Words can be debated, twisted, ignored, but silence cannot. Silence is final, undeniable, powerful. It carries truth without aggression. It says, I no longer need to convince you. It's maturity in motion. It's strength disguised as stillness. It's control reclaimed. And in that absence, something magical happens. You start to teach yourself too. You begin to see how much you were giving away, how much of your energy was spent trying to fix what was never yours to fix. You learn that your worth doesn't need to be proven. It needs to be protected. You understand that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. To simply step back, to breathe, to let silence do the speaking. Because silence doesn't mean weakness. It means wisdom. It means you've chosen peace over drama, clarity over chaos, self-worth over approval. Every time you walk away without explanation, you're teaching a lesson about standards. You're showing that you refuse to participate in relationships that drain you. You're showing that access to you is earned through consistency, respect, and effort. And those who don't understand that will eventually learn, not through your words, but through the emptiness your absence leaves behind. Absence has a gravity. It pulls people inward. It makes them question. It makes them realize that what they thought was replaceable was actually irreplaceable. That's the paradox of presence. When you're always available, people stop seeing your value. But when you step away, your absence forces them to confront the truth. You were the difference maker. You were the warmth, the balance, the anchor. And sometimes they don't see that until you're gone. But here's the deeper truth. This lesson isn't about them. It's about you. It's about learning that your voice doesn't always need to fill every silence, that your energy doesn't always need to fix every situation, that your love doesn't always need to save everyone else while you drown. Your absence is your boundary made visible. It's your self-respect in action. It's your quiet way of saying, I choose myself. When you give someone your absence, you're not abandoning them. You're honoring yourself. You're saying, I refuse to stay where I'm not valued. You're saying, I no longer participate in my own depletion. And that kind of lesson changes people, both you and them. You find peace in letting go, and they find growth in realizing what they've lost. The beauty of absence is that it's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's not destructive, it's transformative. It allows space for truth to surface. It gives you time to reset, to heal, to remember who you are. And it gives others time to feel what your presence truly meant. Because when your absence enters a room, it speaks in ways your presence never could. It says, this is what life feels like without my energy, my effort, my light. And that's a lesson no amount of words can teach. Your absence is not punishment. It's perspective. It's not cruelty. It's clarity. It's not the end. It's the beginning of understanding your worth. Because sometimes the most powerful way to say everything is to say nothing at all. Your silence is not empty. It's full of truth. Your absence is not distance. It's discipline. Your withdrawal is not weakness. It's wisdom. And every moment you choose silence over struggle, every time you choose distance over disrespect, every time you give your absence instead of begging to be understood, you're teaching the world how to treat you without saying a single word. Protect your peace by removing access, because not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Not everyone deserves the privilege of your presence, and not everyone has earned the right to share your energy. There comes a time when you realize peace is not something you stumble upon. It's something you build, protect, and guard fiercely. You've fought too hard to create the calm you now have, to heal from the chaos you once tolerated, to allow just anyone to come and disrupt it again. Protecting your peace doesn't mean you hate people. It means you finally love yourself enough to stop allowing what drains you. It means you've reached a level of self-awareness where you know who adds to your energy and who steals it. It means you've stopped apologizing for choosing quiet over conflict, clarity over confusion, and healing over history. There's power in the word no. There's liberation in silence. There's strength in stepping back and saying, I'm not available for this anymore. When you remove access, you're not being cold, you're being conscious. You're protecting the most valuable thing you have, your energy, because your energy is what fuels your dreams, your focus, your drive, your emotional balance. And if that energy is constantly being drained by people who take and never give, you'll have nothing left for yourself. Too often, we keep the door open for people who keep walking in with chaos. We make excuses for their behavior. We justify their disrespect. We tolerate what hurts us because we're afraid of being alone. But solitude isn't a punishment. It's a sanctuary. It's the space where you rebuild your strength, recalibrate your emotions, and reconnect with your purpose, you have to understand that not every connection is meant to be permanent. Some people are lessons, not lifetimes. Some are meant to show you what you don't want, what you'll no longer accept, what you'll never tolerate again. And when you start removing access, it doesn't mean you're bitter. It means you're better. It means you've outgrown environments that no longer support your peace. It means you've chosen peace over people pleasing. You see, peace doesn't come by accident. It's not gifted. It's earned through boundaries, through saying no, through walking away from conversations that don't deserve your response. Every time you say no to someone who disturbs your peace, you're saying yes to your inner balance, your happiness. Your clarity protecting your peace also means being intentional about where your attention goes, because your attention is energy, and energy flows where attention goes. If you keep giving energy to gossip, to drama, to people who constantly play the victim, you're feeding the very things that rob you of joy. You can't heal in the same environment that made you sick. You can't find clarity in conversations that thrive on confusion. You can't find peace while sitting at tables where respect is optional. So stop showing up to every argument you're invited to. Stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Stop trying to convince others to see your worth. Protect your peace by withdrawing from what doesn't align with it. You don't need to announce every boundary you create. Just move differently. Let your absence speak where your boundaries are ignored. Let your energy become selective. Be cautious about who gets close, who gets your time, who gets your trust. Peace requires discipline because people will test it. They'll push, they'll provoke, they'll try to pull you back into old versions of yourself. But the version of you that's protecting your peace doesn't respond from emotion. It responds from clarity. It understands that not every battle is worth fighting. Not every opinion is worth addressing. Not every person is worth chasing. Sometimes silence is the loudest answer. Sometimes walking away is the strongest statement. When you start protecting your peace, the world may label you distant, cold, detached. But what they don't understand is that peace looks selfish to those who benefited from your chaos. The moment you stop explaining, over giving, or fixing everything for everyone, people who once relied on your availability will feel your distance. But that's the price of growth. The more you evolve, the more selective you become. You start to crave peace more than attention, solitude more than validation, stability more than excitement. You realize that peace is not found in the noise of others. It's found in the silence within yourself. And that silence is sacred. It's where you reconnect with your purpose, where you remember your worth, where you regain your strength. Removing access doesn't mean cutting everyone off. It means being mindful of who gets your energy. It's about prioritizing your peace over temporary pleasure, your growth over familiarity, your self-worth over attachment. Sometimes you need to distance yourself, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring for yourself. You've realized that love shouldn't come at the cost of your sanity. That connection shouldn't demand your exhaustion. That loyalty shouldn't require your silence when you're being disrespected. Protecting your peace is the purest form of self-love because it says, I value myself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't align with who I'm becoming. It's not easy. Protecting your peace often means being misunderstood. It means choosing the harder road, walking alone, staying quiet, refusing to engage in negativity. But it's worth it. Because when you protect your peace, you create space for clarity. You begin to attract people who match your energy instead of draining it. You begin to think clearer, move smarter, love deeper, live freer. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop existing and start living. You stop seeking peace externally and start finding it internally. And that's when everything changes. The chaos outside no longer controls the calm within. Peace is your responsibility. Nobody is going to hand it to you. The world thrives on distraction, drama, and noise, and it's your job to rise above it. Every time you engage with negativity, you're feeding it. Every time you argue with someone who isn't listening, you're wasting energy that could be building your dreams. Protect your peace like it's oxygen, because it is. Without peace, everything else collapses. Without peace, success feels empty, relationships feel heavy, and life feels noisy. But when you protect your peace, even storms feel manageable because you know how to anchor yourself in calmness. That's the secret. The world doesn't get quieter, you just get stronger in your stillness. Removing access is not punishment. It's prevention. It's stopping the cycle of emotional exhaustion before it begins. It's saying, I refuse to let anyone have the power to disturb my inner world. It's about taking ownership of your space, your emotions, your boundaries. Because peace is fragile when you let everyone in, but it's powerful when you choose who stays. Protect your peace by observing who respects it and who threatens it. The ones who truly care will adjust. The ones who don't will fade away. Either way, you win. Because protecting your peace isn't about control. It's about freedom. The freedom to live without chaos, to breathe without pressure, to exist without apology. And that freedom begins the moment you decide to remove access from anything or anyone that costs you your calm. Walking away is self-respect, not weakness, because sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to stop trying to make things work that are clearly breaking you. People often mistake endurance for strength, thinking that staying in a painful situation is noble, that holding on shows commitment, that persistence is proof of love or loyalty. But there's a fine line between resilience and self-betrayal. Walking away doesn't mean you've given up. It means you've finally decided that your peace, your dignity, and your mental clarity are worth more than constant struggle. It means you've realized that staying somewhere that diminishes you is not courage. It's fear disguised as loyalty. True strength is found in the moment you choose yourself over approval, over attachment, over the fear of being misunderstood. There's a voice inside you that whispers when it's time to go. It's the same voice that gets drowned out by excuses, by guilt, by what-ifs and emotional attachment. That voice is your intuition, your internal compass, your soul saying, enough. But many people ignore it because walking away can feel like failure. We are conditioned to fix, to fight, to prove. We think if we just give more, tolerate more, wait longer, things will change. But the truth is, you can't fix people who aren't ready to face themselves. You can't grow in an environment that resists your growth. You can't heal in the same space that broke you. Walking away is not running from problems. It's recognizing when the problem is no longer yours to solve. It's understanding that peace sometimes requires distance. And love sometimes means letting go. When you walk away, you reclaim control over your own story. You stop letting other people write your narrative through manipulation, guilt, or emotional dependency. You begin to draw the line between what you can control and what you can't. You can't control how someone treats you, but you can control how long you allow it. You can't control how someone sees you, but you can control how you see yourself. That's self-respect, knowing that your worth is not determined by how others value you, but by how you value yourself. And walking away is the ultimate declaration of self-worth. It's saying, I deserve better, not from arrogance, but from awareness. You know what you bring to the table, and you're no longer afraid to eat alone. There's a kind of strength that comes from silence, from walking away without making a scene, without needing to explain or justify. That kind of strength is rare because it's rooted in self-control. It's the kind of strength that doesn't shout. It simply acts. When you walk away, you're not trying to hurt anyone. You're choosing to stop hurting yourself. You're choosing peace over pride, clarity over confusion, growth over guilt. And it's not easy. Walking away often feels like tearing a piece of yourself apart. It's uncomfortable, it's emotional, it's raw. But it's also liberating, because every step you take away from something toxic, you take one step closer to the person you were meant to be. People might call you cold for walking away, but they didn't see the nights you stayed awake hoping things would change. They didn't see the countless times you gave the benefit of the doubt, the energy you spent fixing things you didn't break, the effort you put into holding it together when everything around you was falling apart. Walking away doesn't erase what you gave. It honors it. It honors the effort, the love, the time, the patience you invested. But it also acknowledges that effort without reciprocation becomes self-destruction. When someone shows you repeatedly that they don't value your presence, the most respectful thing you can do for yourself is to give them your absence. That's not bitterness, it's boundaries. The moment you decide to walk away, you begin to heal. You stop living in reaction to someone else's behavior. You stop negotiating your value. You stop explaining your worth. You stop being controlled by guilt or obligation. And instead, you start building a new foundation, one that's rooted in self-trust, in emotional independence, in knowing that you can stand on your own. You begin to understand that your happiness was never supposed to come from other people. It was supposed to come from within. You realize that walking away isn't losing something. It's gaining yourself back. It's remembering your power, your peace, your purpose. There's a misconception that staying is strength. But sometimes staying is surrender. Staying where you're not appreciated, where your effort is unnoticed, where your presence is undervalued. That's not strength, that's settling. And life is too short to settle for less than you deserve. The truth is, people don't change when you beg them to. They change when they lose access to you. Your absence becomes their wake-up call. But even then, your decision to walk away should never be about making someone realize your worth. It should be about you realizing it first. Because when you finally do, you won't chase, you won't beg, you won't explain. You'll simply move in silence, with grace, with power. Walking away is not an act of emotion. It's an act of evolution. It's a decision to stop repeating patterns that keep you stuck. It's choosing to end cycles of disappointment and replace them with lessons. It's understanding that endings are not failures, they're transitions. You outgrow people, places, and situations that no longer fit your frequency. That's not betrayal, it's alignment. Every time you walk away from something that doesn't serve your higher self, you step closer to your true purpose. The universe rewards clarity. The moment you release what's not meant for you, life begins to open new doors. But those doors only appear once you stop clinging to the ones that are already closed. It takes immense courage to walk away from familiarity. Even pain can feel comfortable when you've lived in it long enough. But real courage is stepping into the unknown, trusting that what's ahead is better than what you're leaving behind. You don't need to see the whole path. You just need to take the first step, because walking away is not about having a plan. It's about having faith. Faith in yourself, in your resilience, in your ability to rebuild. It's about believing that peace exists beyond the storm. That healing is waiting beyond the hurt, that your best chapter begins the moment you stop rereading the old one, and in time, you start to notice something powerful. You feel lighter. The weight of trying to fix, to prove, to please begins to fall off. The noise quiets down. The confusion clears. And for the first time in a long time, you can hear yourself again. That's what walking away gives you clarity. You start seeing what truly matters, what deserves your energy, and what never did. You stop fighting for things that drain you and start flowing with things that grow you. And that's when you realize walking away was never the end. It was the beginning of you becoming the strongest, most peaceful, most authentic version of yourself. Because every step away from what disrespected you is a step toward what was always waiting for you, your peace, your power, your freedom, your energy is a privilege, not a guarantee, because not everyone deserves the version of you that gives endlessly, listens deeply, and cares unconditionally. Your energy is not just your presence. It's your focus, your warmth, your effort, your vibration. It's the invisible force that influences every space you enter, every conversation you have, every connection you maintain. Too often, people treat that energy as if it's infinite, as if you'll always be available, as if you'll keep showing up no matter how you're treated. But there comes a time when you realize that your energy is sacred. It's not something to be handed out freely to people who don't value it. It's something to be guarded, nurtured, and shared only with those who honor it. Because your energy shapes your reality. The people you give it to either amplify it or drain it, and your peace depends on knowing the difference. When you start treating your energy as a privilege, you stop apologizing for being selective. You begin to understand that not everyone deserves access to you just because they want it. Access to your time, your thoughts, your emotions, your presence. It's something that must be earned through respect, consistency, and authenticity. You can be kind without being available, loving without being drained, helpful without being used. The world teaches you to give endlessly, to please, to sacrifice, but true maturity is realizing that overextending yourself is not kindness, it's neglect. Every time you say yes when your heart says no, you're betraying yourself. Every time you let someone pull from your energy without giving anything back, you're depleting the very force that fuels your growth. Your energy carries weight. It's what people feel when you walk into a room. It's what makes your presence memorable. It's why certain people feel calm when you're around and others feel threatened. You can sense it too. The ones who drain you, the ones who inspire you, the ones who balance you. Your intuition knows the difference, but sometimes your heart gets in the way. You want to see the best in people, so you ignore the signs. You keep pouring, keep giving, keep showing up, hoping they'll reciprocate. But energy doesn't lie. You can feel when it's not mutual. You can feel when your light is being dimmed instead of appreciated. And that's when you have to remember your energy is a gift, not an obligation. You're not required to keep showing up for people who never show up for you. There's power in being intentional with your energy. When you stop scattering it everywhere and start channeling it toward what aligns with your purpose, everything changes. Your focus sharpens, your relationships deepen, your results multiply. Because where your energy goes, your life flows. If you give it to drama, you attract chaos. If you give it to growth, you attract opportunity. If you give it to love, you attract peace. But that only happens when you recognize your energy's worth. When you realize it's not something to be wasted on temporary people, meaningless arguments, or situations that repeat the same pain. Your energy was meant for creation, not destruction. For expansion, not exhaustion. For purpose, not performance. When you begin protecting your energy, some people will call you distant or selfish. That's because your boundaries expose their dependency. They're used to having unrestricted access to you, to your attention, your comfort, your emotional labor. When you start saying no, when you start pulling back, when you stop rescuing everyone, they'll feel the loss of that access. But that's not your responsibility to fix. You are not their source of healing. You are not responsible for their peace. You can love people and still say, I need space. You can care deeply and still choose yourself, because giving someone access to your energy should never come at the expense of your sanity. The more you grow, the more you'll realize that protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's survival. Energy is contagious. When you surround yourself with people who vibrate at a higher level, people who are optimistic, disciplined, kind, and driven, you feel elevated. You feel inspired. You move differently. But when you surround yourself with negativity, with gossip, with apathy, with people who constantly play small, your own frequency drops. That's why being selective with your energy isn't about arrogance. It's about alignment. You're not better than anyone else, but you're deeply aware that energy is currency. Every interaction is an exchange, and not every transaction is worth the cost. You have to ask yourself, what am I investing in? What am I getting in return? Because if you keep investing in people who only withdraw, one day you'll wake up emotionally bankrupt. You don't owe your energy to everyone who demands it. You don't have to explain why you're unavailable, why you didn't reply, why you need time alone. Your energy doesn't exist to validate other people's insecurities. It exists to fuel your growth, your peace, your dreams. You're allowed to disconnect. You're allowed to recharge. You're allowed to step back and protect the parts of you that the world keeps trying to take. Because when you give your energy too freely, you end up running on empty, and emptiness cannot create anything meaningful. Recharging is not retreating, it's renewing. The quiet moments, the solitude, the distance, they're where your energy resets. And when you come back, you're stronger, clearer, more grounded. You have to start observing how people respond to your energy. Some will take it and give back even more, building a cycle of mutual growth. Others will take and leave you feeling drained, confused, or small. Pay attention to the patterns. Your body knows when it's being depleted. Your spirit knows when something feels off. Your energy is your most accurate guide. It never lies. The people who genuinely care for you will respect your boundaries. They'll appreciate your effort without demanding your exhaustion. They'll match your energy instead of consuming it. The ones who only value you for what you give will resist your boundaries, guilt trip you, or disappear when you stop feeding them. Let them go. Because the more you filter your energy, the more space you create for alignment. Think of your energy like a garden. What you water grows. What you neglect fades. You wouldn't let weeds overrun your garden, yet so many people let toxic connections choke their peace. Protecting your energy means tending to your inner garden, pruning what's dead, removing what's invasive, and nurturing what's beautiful. You are the gardener of your soul, and your energy is the sunlight that helps your life bloom. Stop wasting that sunlight on spaces that will never grow with you. Start investing it where it multiplies, where it uplifts, where it expands your potential. Once you start valuing your energy, you move differently. You stop seeking validation and start seeking vibration. You no longer chase what drains you. You attract what aligns with your frequency. You start walking with intention, speaking with clarity, choosing with confidence, because you finally understand that your energy creates your world. Every thought, every emotion, every connection is an investment, and the return depends on your awareness. So choose wisely who gets to experience your light, who gets to share your space, who gets to influence your peace, because your energy is not a guarantee. It's a privilege. And once you begin treating it that way, your entire life begins to shift toward peace, purpose, and power. Detachment reveals your true power, because the moment you stop depending on outcomes, people, or circumstances to define your peace, you begin to experience real freedom. Detachment is not about not caring. It's about caring without losing yourself. It's about showing up fully, giving your best, loving deeply, working passionately, but not being destroyed if things don't go as planned. It's understanding that control is an illusion and peace begins where attachment ends. So many people live in emotional chains because they've attached their worth to things they can't control: other people's approval, relationships, success, validation, material possessions. The moment you release that grip, the moment you stop needing everything to go your way, the weight begins to fall off. Detachment allows you to breathe, to see clearly, to move from a place of strength instead of desperation. True power comes from being able to say, I can care without clinging. I can love without losing myself. I can give without expecting. That's where your emotional freedom begins. Because attachment breeds fear, fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of failure, and fear makes you easy to manipulate. But detachment removes that power from everything outside you and gives it back to you. You no longer need to chase what's temporary or beg for what's fading. You stop reacting to every shift and start observing it. You become calm in situations that used to shake you, and that calmness is power. It's not apathy, it's mastery. It's the ability to live in peace no matter what happens around you. When you detach, you take your energy back from people who didn't deserve it, from problems that were never yours to solve, from expectations that only led to disappointment. Detachment doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop letting feelings control you. You still experience love, passion, empathy, excitement, but you also know how to release them when they begin to control your peace. You learn that holding on too tightly to people or outcomes suffocates them. The more you try to control life, the more it resists you. Detachment is learning to let things flow instead of forcing them. It's trusting that what's meant for you will align naturally without begging, without chasing, without constant anxiety. It's understanding that rejection is protection, that endings are redirection, and that not everything you lose is a loss. You begin to trust timing, trust process, trust yourself. And when you live from that space of trust, your decisions become clearer, your emotions lighter, your perspective stronger. When you practice detachment, you stop making temporary things permanent. You stop giving power to people who come and go, to opinions that change daily, to moments that are meant to pass. You stop allowing external chaos to disturb your internal balance. That's why detached people often seem calm when everything around them is falling apart. It's not because they don't care. It's because they understand the difference between what they can control and what they can't. They've mastered the art of surrender, the ability to release without resentment. Surrender is not giving up. It's letting go of the need to control outcomes. It's saying, I will do my part and I'll let life handle the rest. That kind of faith creates unshakable confidence because you stop living in fear of loss. You stop trying to force what's fading and start flowing with what's unfolding. Detachment is also a test of self-worth. When you're attached, you give your power away. You rely on others to make you feel whole, on circumstances to make you feel successful, on outcomes to validate your worth. But when you detach, you take that power back. You realize that your value doesn't depend on being chosen, being liked, being understood. It exists because you exist. You no longer chase love, you embody it. You no longer beg for attention, you command it through your presence. You no longer fear endings, you embrace them because you know that every ending clears space for something greater. Detachment teaches you that nothing external can complete you. The more you need something, the more power it has over you. The less you need, the more powerful you become. The strength of detachment lies in observation. You begin to watch your emotions instead of being consumed by them. You can see your anger rise without letting it dictate your words. You can feel disappointment without drowning in it. You can love without losing your sense of self. That's when you realize that emotional control is not about suppressing your feelings, it's about mastering your response. Detachment gives you that mastery. It creates space between your emotions and your reactions. It teaches you patience, perspective, and peace. You stop being a victim of your feelings and start being a leader of your energy. And in that stillness, you discover clarity, the ability to see things for what they are, not what your emotions want them to be. When you detach, you also learn the art of allowing. You allow people to be who they are without trying to change them. You allow situations to unfold without trying to force outcomes. You allow life to take its natural course without resisting it at every turn. And the beauty of allowing is that it brings peace. You stop fighting reality, and when you stop fighting reality, you stop suffering. You can love someone and still walk away if they disturb your peace. You can have dreams and still rest if things take longer than expected. You can experience loss and still remain grounded because you know your worth was never attached to what you lost. Detachment creates a space between what happens to you and how you choose to respond. That space is freedom, and freedom is power. The world often tells you to hold tighter, to fight harder, to never let go, but real strength lies in knowing when to release. Detachment doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing peace over pressure. It's saying, I can still care deeply, but I will not cling. It's refusing to lose yourself while trying to keep something else. It's knowing that what's meant for you will never require you to sacrifice your sanity. You learn that letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You stop chasing closure from people who never gave you clarity. You stop begging for attention that should have been given freely. You stop waiting for apologies that may never come. You stop needing validation from anyone who doesn't see your value. Detachment gives you all of that because it teaches you to stand alone, grounded, and unshaken. Detachment also makes your love pure. When you love from attachment, it's possessive, It's I need you. But when you love from detachment, it's free. It's I choose you, but I'm okay if you leave. That kind of love is powerful because it's not based on fear. It's not about ownership. It's about respect. It allows both people to grow without control, without guilt, without pressure. It's the same with your goals. When you're attached to outcomes, you operate from desperation. When you're detached, you operate from confidence. You give your best and trust that whatever happens is meant to happen. Detachment gives you freedom from anxiety, from comparison, from the need to prove. You no longer measure success by results, but by peace. There's a quiet strength in someone who is detached. They move differently, speak less, feel more, but react less. They're grounded in themselves, anchored in peace, unshaken by chaos. They've learned that not everything requires a reaction. Not everyone deserves a response. Not every situation needs control. They've realized that peace is not found in control. It's found in surrender. And that surrender is what reveals your true power, because once you no longer depend on the outside world to feel okay, nothing can take your peace away. Detachment doesn't make you distant. It makes you powerful, because the one who doesn't cling doesn't fear loss. And the one who doesn't fear loss finally understands what it means to be truly free.